Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Militiaman and Crew here. I hope everybody's had a good weekend and we're off to the start. It's Monday. I know it's work in progress, right? Hey, so listen, everybody, that if you're new here, please enjoy. But just know that what we're doing is, we've always done with Militiaman and Crew, is that we go over Iraq, related topics, and a few other things. Sometimes there's a little bit of information that we blend in because of it's just outside stuff, you know, that we get peripheral. So enjoy the topics that we have, and thank you for being with us. We all love you guys. Patreon.com/Militiaman and Crew, which is MM and Crew. So come check us out. And so, but we're going to get started. Hey, we have a little bit of, this one might be a little bit long, but I'm going to try to get through it because we were off for a couple days. I took the day off yesterday, as most everybody did, which is a good thing in memory. Thank you for your service, everybody. Thank you. And for those that have made that ultimate sacrifice, thank you. The Al Rafidane. So the Al Rafidane Bank is one of the major banks. It says the digital transformation plan is proceeding according to time settings. Time settings, or set timings, as they put it. Why is that important? Well, they've actually worked in conjunction with a lot of different entities and over a period of time to do what? To get their digital transformation for their banking, electronic banking. And what have they done? They've expanded the circle of their banking, and they've moved that banking up into different regions of the country, and Anbar and Mosul University branches. They've activated the comprehensive system. So they're using the term comprehensive. So this is a new system, and it's effectively relating to the same as Baghdad. Okay, and you're going to see where I'm going to tie in even Syria, for instance. But we'll go into this. It says this is basically in Zarbate and Safwan, Arar and Trouble. These are, in parentheses, important steps to abandon paperwork and move completely towards electronic transformation. We know that, and we're going to see this again from the kudos from the IMF, is that Iraq has real-time gross settlements. We talked about it in recent video, the last one or the one before, and or both. So anyway, since April 29th, Iraq has had that ability to do real-time gross settlements, and it's in the public gazette. So pay attention to that stuff. It says the banks confirmed, according to the statement, the plan for digital transformation and the adoption of the comprehensive banking system is proceeding according to the set timings to include all branches of the bank. Basically is for what? Electronic transformation, financial transaction, reducing episodes of red tape for citizens, and reducing time and effort completing citizens' transactions. So what is it for? Well, they have a priority to get it done, to take care of who? The citizens. That's what they've been talking about, and obviously there's no deviation from that. And the next one today is Al-Sudani. It says Al-Sudani directs to expedite the completion of the registration of Kurdistan region employees' data and avoid delaying their salaries. They've been working on this process for a while to get accurate information, have audits done, all that, so that they know who's who and who's getting paid fairly. There was a lot of weird things happening in the past, ghost employees, just a lot of different things. But I think now that at this stage of the game, after all this time, they're basically ready to go. And it says the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani directed on Monday the need to expedite the completion of the registration of the Kurdistan region employees' data and avoid delaying their salaries. So there's a push to get it done. And you're going to see that there's a lot of a push going on in Iraq to sort things out for the last minute. And I believe that that's exactly what they've done. They were sorting things out. It says that according to the Kurdistan region's office, it says proceeding with the implementation of the decision of the federal court issued on February 21st, 2024, which stipulated obligating the federal government and the regional government to localize the salaries of the public sector's employees working within the Kurdistan region. And he indicates The statement indicated that al-Sudani followed up on implementing procedures with the Central Bank of Iraq and government banks in this regard. So basically, what are they doing? They're making sure the citizens get their fair share and accurately. It will be very important when they start getting their constitutional rights. And people ask, well, what is their constitutional rights? Well, one of them is going to be their oil money. When they do the oil and gas law and they get that sorted, even not just the oil and gas law, I'm pretty sure it might even go as far as the income that they get from many other sources. Non-oil revenues possibly too, because those are what? Those are natural resources. A lot of them are, not all of them, but there are a few. They have some very big natural resources. So that's fascinating to see that this is happening. And here it is. Iraq participates in an international scientific conference on digital transformation. So they're still focused in on the digital transformation. And why is it going to be important? Well, all the countries that border Iraq have to have communication at their borders, and digital transformation is part of it. So here we are. We haven't heard about Syria in the past very much. We know that there's some issues going on in Syria, back and forth, but the bottom line is they're a country that needs to be addressed, and they're addressing it now. It says the International Scientific Conference on Digital Transformation, whose activities were launched in the Syrian capital of Damascus, along with representatives of the Arab, Asian, and European countries. So Iraq involved 100% digital transformation with Syria. They have a border, and they're going to need that for trade. So that's pretty cool. Over the 3-day University of Damascus, the participants will discuss 6 topics, or they did, including the digital economy, impact on promoting economic growth, the role of electronic management in achieving sustainable development, all the buzzwords that the World Bank's using, the IMF's using, the United States Treasury's using, the U.S. Federal Bank, even though they don't mention them in this article, everybody's doing the same thing. It's a global thing. It says researchers and specialists from Arab and foreign countries, including Iraq, Algeria, Jordan, Oman, Lebanon, Egypt, Sudan, Iran, India, the United Kingdom, are all participating in this conference, in addition to the participation of a number of ministries, government agencies, institutions, and private companies in Syria. There you go. Digital transformation is happening, and they're all very aware of it. It's nothing new. It's just they're reiterating the fact that they're probably on the same page. This is a good sign, in my opinion. We've not heard much about the relationship with Iraq and Syria. It shows that Syria, too, is underway with digital transformation. All the countries at the borders, like I just mentioned, will need to have interconnectivity. They're just going to need to have that interconnectivity electronically. And I would imagine the World Trade Organization is aware of it. I would imagine that the World Customs Organization is aware about it. I would imagine the trucking, the TRIP, or anyway. European Union, you guys remember, we have to Google that. I can't remember everything. But the cool thing is that everybody's involved with the electronic transformation of the country. It says the details of the Finance Committee with the Ministry of Finance and Planning. So the Ministry of Finance and Planning, they're talking about details of the Finance Committee meeting with the Ministries of Finance and Planning. It looks like the Department of the House of Representatives announced today that the Finance Committee's meeting with the Minister of Finance and Planning, they had that today. It said it was headed by Atwan al-Atwani and attended by members, held an expanded meeting, so I guess obviously it's important for them, with the Deputy Prime Minister of Planning, Mohammed al-Tamim, the Ministry of Finance, Taif Sami. A lot of times people like to listen when she talks because she's a heck of a presence, okay? In her presence of advisors to the Prime Minister, Abdul Karim Al-Faisal, Kazim Al-Hassani, and Muhammad Sahib Al-Daraji, to discuss and analyze the data of the tables related to the federal general budget law for the fiscal year 2024. So basically, they're talking about it, having it on the table, indicating the chairman of the committee welcomed its guests, all that. The committee discussed a number of topics, most important which is the analysis of the tables, mechanisms through which financial allocations are going to be made, whether current or investment. I think that's operational and investment. Reasons for increasing the current budget amounts. There's a huge increase, and why did they do that? They're going to be talking about that. In addition to spending policy, they're going to need to spend money. If they're increasing, where are you getting the money? How are you going to spend it? And so the mechanism for dispersing, okay, how are we going to pay for it? and the ways to fill the deficit. How are we going to fill that gap if there's a deficit? And how to increase non-oil revenues in addition to emergency support for food security and development law allocations file. That's a lot to take into one paragraph, but the bottom line is what do they need to do? They're questioning what's going on with this. Okay, so the commitment of the executive authorities to finance ongoing projects in all governments. So what are they asking here? Do they have legal basis to do so? To authorize the governors to contract regarding the implementation of projects, whether the border texts are in effect for the 3 years as they requested, all details and official letters to review. So all of those are questions, and they're on the table. And I would say that they probably didn't get a very solid answer just yet, because there are answers for that, but maybe they can't say so, and they don't finish that in this particular article. But the government pays great attention to completing the implementation of lagging projects, fulfilling the obligations of the governments, promoting to developing a plan to increase non-oil revenue. So they're just kind of like saying, like, well, that's what our plan is, and then they're not necessarily stating that how are they going to do it. I think we all know that how they're going to do it. Emergency support food security and development law has been allocated on all required amounts. So they've done it. So everything that they're doing is, at least they're stating that the emergency support food for security development has been taken care of. So TAFE Sammy explains the mechanism for financing projects, dispersing amounts included in sources of financing projects from oil and non-oil revenues, and the mechanism for distributing amounts between various ministries and spending units, in addition to how figures are within the finance projects for the region. So she's basically addressing that she has the mechanisms, they're going to do it, but what are they? I don't think she basically gets to that. I think the last part here says that she stressed the government's commitment to implementing the financial management law. In addition, the ministry addressed the issue of oil, non-oil revenues, the importance of cooperation between the government and the House of Representatives to ensure effective implementation of the budget and achieve the best results for the citizens. So, I don't know. I come away from the article basically look like they didn't answer the questions, but that's okay. Maybe because they can't yet. Because I think what we all realize is that the tables have an exchange rate orientation to them. And what fixes the problems are going to come with a real effective exchange rate. So anyway, the government and the parliament are team working together to achieve the public interests. I will personally be thinking that their constitutional rights are going to be taken into consideration. They're going to have to pay the citizens effectively their money, and they're going to have to take that into consideration. And once again, think about it. Has the oil started pumping through Turkey yet? It hasn't done that yet. So we are spot on, I think, with the fact is that these things haven't happened yet. There's plenty of articles that support the fact that Iraq has been paying for things because of the oil money. They've been paying for all this stuff from oil money. They haven't been paying things for 1310 through the dinar. They've been using the oil money in dollars to do things. That's going to cease. And we already know that they've got about 90% of all the commercial activity in Iraq, aside from Kurdistan, that they have use of the dinar in country. And they talked about many times that liquidity is tight in Iraq with dinar. So what happens when that goes away? Well, all the citizens that are dealing in dinar, if they're dealing in dinar and they own dinar, I think they're going to be in good shape. If you're only dealing in the dollar and they change the value of the Kurdistan of the currency, those that are in Kurdistan that aren't using the dinar, they're going to suffer to some degree. I mean, think about it for a minute. If you're just all you own is dollars and they change the value to a real effective exchange rate back to where it was in a previous era, they say from back to 1980, your currency is not going to be worth what that currency is going to be worth. The dollar is not going to, as Soudani said, the dollar is going to be weaker, or he said it in a way that the dinar is going to be stronger than the dollar. That's all there is to it. That's the way he's put it. And we all know that that's the whole goal. You drop the value, you drop the 3 zeros from the currency, you're going to add value. That's all there is to it. That's how it works. And that's just not my opinion, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, the government and the parliament are one team, and they're working together to achieve the public interests. You know what? If they're going to be doing their constitutional rights and they're working with everybody to do and to bring the constitutional rights for Iraq, to me that's a good thing. And obviously this 3-year budget is definitely a key component because it's going to be about the investment side and it's also about the spending side. So everybody just know that the mechanism for financing projects and dispersing amounts, including sources of financing projects from those oil and non-oil revenues, and the mechanism for distributing amounts between various ministries and spending units is an addition to how they're going to finance the region. So I think it's pretty heavy, pretty good stuff, and obviously note that they are definitely focused on it. They're trying to sort it. I think they'll have to within a very short period of time. This last few articles that I have, here's this parliamentary comment on the budget tables. They cannot be passed before an amendment is made. So this article is kind of vague too because they haven't finished it. This focus in on the budget of 2024 or the 23, 24, 25 budget has been a big thing. So parliamentary comments on the budget tables, they cannot be passed before an amendment is made. So there's objections potentially. So it says the Finance Committee will work to hold meetings with the Ministry of Planning and Finance to discuss objections, observations to the budget schedules sent to the House of Representatives. Now, why would they have objections? Probably because you're going to find that out that it's huge. The budget is huge. It says the schedules were sent to the House of Representatives, and they're noting that there are many parliamentary objections and observations to them. So he goes and points out that there's a great possibility to make amendments to the schedules sent in order to do justice to the governance through transfer between the exchange doors. He points out that schedules cannot be passed in the form sent by the government. So what they're saying is that what they've been sent, they can't be passed because they don't believe that they can do that because they're so high. Here we go. It says its revenues are estimated 144 trillion, 336 billion dinars, while expenditures amount to 210 trillion and 936 billion dinars, with a deficit of 63 trillion and 599 billion dinars. Where are you going to get that? That's what they're asking. They're not getting any answers from it. But I think that we all can figure this out, is that there's a change coming, because if they drop the 3 zeros from their exchange rate, apply a real effective exchange rate, things get a lot cheaper. I think we all know that. It goes on to say the representatives expressed their objection to the financial allocation schedules contained in the budget, while noting that it is underestimated that the rights of the provinces increase the allocation to the Kurdistan region according to their expression. So if you're increasing things, where are you getting the money? It's fascinating. But anyway, of course they would have objections to the budget, as it is a massive in totality. It is larger than ever before. This budget's larger than we've ever seen, or that they have ever seen. They must realize by now that the CBI has a fix for it. This is the way I believe. Taif Sami would full well know that. That's totally my belief. She knows what's going on. Al-Alaq knows what's going on. Al-Sudani knows what's going on. And I think a lot of these guys in the parliament are finally waking up to the party, is that they're not getting anything. They're in a political mode. They want to know what the numbers are because they want to take it home and take care of their citizens. One of the things that I mentioned before, and I think it's applicable at the moment, is that Jamal Cougar came in and gave a specific time frame. And he gave less than 10 days, and that was on the 22nd, per my view, because that's in the articles that I have. Excuse me. But they also suggest that these budget articles will be voted on between now and the 9th of June, because that's when their session comes back into play. Next one is central bank. The issuance of new monetary denominations will not affect the dinar exchange rate. this was an interesting article that got people's attention. And it says, member of Board of Directors, Central Bank of Iraq, confirms today, Monday, the issuance of new cash denominations, large or small, will not affect the dinar exchange rate. And I believe that we're going to find that he's probably right. But they warn issuing rumors on social media sites about the issuance of new monetary denominations aims to create a state of confusion in the Iraqi market. Well, I'm not so sure. Fact is that the central bank published data in 2018 about the issuance of new monetary money. And it wasn't at a time when they were needing to produce and expand the money supply. They were looking, and they were reducing the money supply. And they were reducing it by destroying the money. There was videos on it, and it's out there. I might not have it at my fingertips, but trust me on this one. They were destroying money, and it was a video that was openly showing them destroying 30 notes, 25Ks, perfectly good. Okay, so they've reduced that note count. So, but what they're trying to say is probably a little bit of energy, tap it down. Hey, maybe these guys that are on the social media, I'm not sure who all they are, but we may be one of them. But we have a good pulse on it as far as we're concerned here at Militia Man and Crew. And by the way, I want to thank Mountain Goat today. She did a wonderful job in her article, and she also posted a cap for me of me doing my YouTube video. She took an audio for me. And so thank you. I think a lot of people recognize my voice and know my content. And so good job. Appreciate it. Central Bank of Iraq is operating according to well-studied plans, and there's no intention to issue new currencies in large or small denominations. Okay, that's what they say they're going to do. But again, what did Dr. Sabibi say? He said there was probably going to be some disinformation at the end of the day or end of the time frame. But the bottom line is, we know they printed them, so there's no intention of doing it. Why did you print them then? Why did you spend $50 million or more to do so? So you got to be careful on what you read. But because if we assume that the central bank issues a new currency, this will not affect the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar. So in my view, this is what we've touched on this article specifically. I did it yesterday in Patreon with Militia Man and Crew. And you guys can check that out. But I did it again today. But one of the things that I wanted to say that we touched on is, another point I'd like to make is that this guy is not wrong. The guy that's talking about this is coming from the central bank, okay? In components of it, he's not wrong. Whether or not they have new cash denominations, large or small, will not affect the dinar exchange rate. It won't, in my view. The exchange rate will affect the new small denominations, though. So the exchange rate will affect it. He says that the currency will not affect it. He's not wrong. But what will affect the currency is if they change the value of the exchange rate by dropping the 3 zeros, will bring value. Therefore, the new denominations will be affected by it, which will be value. It's pretty simple. So keep that in mind. It says, to me, as I wrote, as a new exchange rate will affect the value of the cash denominations. The Delete the Zeros project, once implemented, will change the value of the exchange rate, whereby the new small cash denomination will be needed, as they will have to have value behind them to make any sense to anyone in the country or out of it. It is not a value change for that matter. It's just that simple, okay? So look, again, the Delete the Zeros project, once implemented, will change the value of the exchange rate, whereby the new small cash denominations will be needed, as they will have to have value behind them to make any sense to anyone in the country or out of it. If there is not a value change for that matter, it's that simple. Just keep it in mind. I don't think anybody's going to be able to prove me wrong. You drop the 3 zeros, exchange rate changes from 1 USD to 1.32, just like Al Sudani says. You do the math, it comes out to 0.76. Apply the exchange rate, real effective exchange rate, and that's where the show starts. big time. But if you drop the 3 zeros and you go from 1310, right, you get the equation and you go to 0.76. 0.76 is 76 cents. It's slightly less than the dollar. That's value. It's not 0.007 something, okay? It's value. That's what they're talking about, bringing value to the currency. That's what Al-Awlak's there for. He didn't just arrive again for the second time just for fun. He came here for a reason. You've got to pay attention to the reality of what they're saying, what they're doing. It'll take a lot of stress off you. As for the media talking about the issuing of new cash denominations, it's not truly a premature thing because, like I said, they printed tens of millions. I think it was around 50 million US dollars in printing new cash denominations in 2018, and a lot of people may have forgotten about that, but it's for real. It's for real. And I'll have to thank Pompey Peter because he had mentioned to me today that he approves this message. So thank you, Pompey Peter. And we always like to say that, you know, Petra's always been with us, and he loves to give us the all boats rise with the tide. And so when they all boats rise with the tide, what we're talking about is everybody in those regions that own the dinar are going to have an impulse. And that's where the World Bank talks about shocks, and they want to be prepared for that. And that's why the IMF has been talking about specific things too, is because they're going to be with Iraq for technical assistance with the Central Bank of Iraq so that they can facilitate these things. So anyway, International Monetary Fund mission for the current year 2024 for Article 4 consultations praised the Iraqi government, their measures, including the monetary policy led by the Central Bank of Iraq. And they go on to talk about policy tools. They talked about increased interest rates. They talk about lots of different things in this little article, but the article's named in patreon.com with /MM and crew. You can find the International Monetary Fund praises the actions of the central bank, the stability of the national currency, and the control of monetary inflation. They go on to say that these steps are crucial in reducing inflationary pressures that Iraq has suffered from, and that has contributed to creating a more stable economic environment. So they're totally working on that. They say that they basically have the flexibility in the face of economic shocks, which I just mentioned. So now they're ready to go, because if they have to face economic shocks, they have the people in place. And this article is basically from that last one I talked about, Article 4 consultation, which was huge at the very bottom of the conclusion. I would say you guys have to go back and refer to that, and you can probably find it on the IMF's website. But another reiteration, basically on a good report for Iraq. Iraq is in a stable economic environment. Specifically, they stated it will not only get more stable as we go, or as they go international with their new exchange rates. In other words, my view is that they're going to get even more stable. Once they get to a specific real effective exchange rate, it'll be far easier for them to be able to maintain stability. So we'll move on to the next article. Yeah, the Parliamentary Finance Committee rules out returning the budget schedules to the government. So it's kind of like a drama here. So they're basically, the Parliamentary Finance, they've got the budget schedules, and they're not going to return it to the government. They don't want to do anything about that, so they're going to keep it. It says they ruled out returning the 2024 budget schedules to the government, while indicating that the committee will work according to the powers to make transfers for the ministries to the governance. So they're working to get it done. Committee member representative Hussein Mohannis told the news agency the committee is keen to ensure the distribution of allocations to the governance is fair and just, despite personal conviction that the reducing the allocations to the central and southern governments is political and not technical. They go on to say Monday, the ministers of planning and finance are ruling out returning those budgets to the government. Of course, reason why, I think they have a fix to the trillions, okay, turn it into billions. But anyway, so they ruled out returning the schedule to the government. To me, that appears they're going to be complete all of these tasks at hand. They want to be fair and just, and they likely know that there is a fix in it, and that fix will likely be reflected in a new exchange rate, which everybody probably is expected. At least I am. Maybe you are. we sure are going to see just how soon they do that. And I believe that's what's on the table. There's also a new article again, which was titled Great News. The U.S. ambassador praises Iraq's ratification of the electronic payment system. Ratification is a big word. It means a lot to people. It means a lot to them. And one of the definitions of ratification, if you probably already know, I'm assuming, the action of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty, contract, or agreement making it officially valid. So when the U.S. ambassador praises Iraq's ratification, basically, isn't that kind of like saying it's officially valid? I think it does. So Tuesday, that was praised by the ambassador, Romanowski, the official ratification of the electronic payment system at the end of last April. So I started this off talking about that they have the RTGS, and that was when? April. We found that at that time, and that's a good thing. It's because we were up on it, we're watching it happen, and here she is giving me and our crew a bit of affirmation that, hey, you guys are spot on, without saying it that way. But that's what it says to me. And it makes you feel good when you have stuff, you peg it. It's like, it feels good because you're giving accurate information. You're giving some of the truth, and it makes it work. It makes people feel good. Gives allows for a good study. Basically, she believes this step will pave the way for modern financial system, economic growth, noting that it is a joint effort by the United States Agency for International Development in the Central Bank of Iraq and the United States Development Program. So you have the United States for International Development, the Central Bank of Iraq, and the United Nations Development Program getting kudos, and they're saying, look, they have ratification. She's giving support for Iraq, the ratification of the electronic payment system, just like we mentioned, like I said, and that happened on April 29th, 2024 in the Gazette for Iraq, CBI, 38-page document. We've been over that. Iraq government's working with the USAID, AID, the Central Bank of Iraq, and the UNDP is enormous. I believe it's a big thing, you guys, because when they're talking ratification, they have an agreement. Iraq can now push to make a modern financial system for economic growth. But you got to remember, there's other articles that talk about Iraq's already involved in being interlinked with the global financial system. So if they're interlinked, then they're actually ready to have so-called, whatever you guys want to call it, the trigger, button push, trigger pull, whatever you want to call it. It sounds to me like they're interlinked, the global financial system already. Therefore, when Al-Alaq and the central bank governor and the powers that be decide for that to happen, I think they're going to do it, like I've said before in the past, when there's the least amount of shocks. The government advisor, new article, Prime Minister moved the region towards development. So it says the Prime Minister, advisor to Prime Minister, his name is Hussein Alawi, announced today, Tuesday, the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has moved towards the region towards development, while noting the international desire to participate in the path development of one of the Prime Minister's diplomatic results. The path of development, the development road project, man, they don't say it very clearly, but there's a push for the development road project, and what is it? It's on. Prime Minister has he's working on to end the terrorism files. He's moving the regions towards development. The path of development has now reached advanced stages, which is key in terms of working on Iraq's territory, in terms of formulating the projects and placing specialists in the right place, as well as putting countries and companies on track. So he's talking about putting people and specialists in the right place, countries, companies on track. And those countries are like many of we talked about. It was like Turkey, Qatar, Emirati, all of that. They signed agreements. So the next thing that they're talking about is one of the strategic outcomes of the government's approach and work to move Iraq to a new space in providing international transport. We talked about that early on. Developing international trade and the issue of collusion or collisions of new economies. In other words, the meeting of the minds, bringing new economies together. And this is what the chairman of the council is working on. In addition to the large port of Al-Fa, which receives goods and transports them along the development road. So ultimately, this whole article, there's more to it. You can come into the Patreon room and Discord and see it. But basically, over the last 18 months, Iraq has made significant progress that we have never seen before. I don't think anybody has seen that Iraq, whether it's under Abadi or Maliki or anybody, al-Sudani has been the one that's been showing the most achievements of all. And I think he'll go down in history as being the savior of the world's economic system. As their words, I think there's some truth to that. It goes on to say that, in my views, that the amount of tension that Iraq has gained to date is nothing but outstanding. We're watching them put companies and countries back on track and in the path of the development. They're in the advanced stages. They're obviously getting ready to go international. So basically, it's a time for the central bank to maybe make her move. Put her in advanced stages, because what do they need? They need to be able to fund all those projects. They need that oil to flow in Turkey. They need all that stuff. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to speed this up. Parliamentary Finance calls on the World Bank to provide new visions and ideas for the Development Road project. They're on the same page. World Bank's proactive, IMF proactive. They're all in support. Same issue. The meetings are presenting new visions and ideas regarding achieving optimal investment for this huge project, which is hoped that will make Iraq an economic corridor linking Asia and Europe. We know that. It's all good. So they're still focused in on it, and that was today. The need for the infrastructure development road to be in the hands of the government so that this important project links the countries of the world, okay, is not subject to negative influence. So the government's taking charge of it. The Iraq economy is witnessing remarkable growth, which contributed to the decline in the dollar exchange rate. This one's going to be an interesting one. It says that Jabbar Goran reveals today that the Iraqi financial system is linked to the global banking system. I just told you that. We've known it, but here we go. This is what this gentleman's saying. It wasn't just the Iraqi banking system. We're talking about the global banking system. They're linked. Why? They did it in April 29th. IMF has given them kudos for it. The economic and financial situation of Iraq is developing and growing significantly. Now we're witnessing an increase in the country's economic growth by 2%, and this is a good thing for the Iraqi economy compared to previous years. He goes on and adds that the implementation of electronic procedures by the Central Bank of Iraq under the supervision of the U.S. Treasury Department, interesting, had a clear impact on economic growth as well as a decline in the value of the dollar against the dinar. So they're openly telling you that the dollar has been declining. Why? Because they infused more dollars to the street, which created an environment oversupply. Therefore, pricing came down. They did that over the last couple of weeks. There was numerous days, a few days, or even a couple days that were large transactions, and that created an environment, which they told you created an environment that it would bring that illegal, parallel, black market, whatever you want to call it, in line with the official exchange rate. And they only needed to do it within 10,000. So it says the implementation of that supervision, U.S. Treasury, The monetary financial policy currently followed in this country has made the difference between the exchange rate of the dollar and the dinar shrink to the limits of about 10,000 dinars, and this difference is considered normal and for many reasons. They said that they have done like 30 different special measures to get to this stage, but he goes on and quotes, when transactions in the Iraqi dinar in the country are now estimated at 90%, with the exception of the Kurdistan region, also paved the way for merchants to deal with external transfers directly through banks. 85% of the bank's local merchants can now deal with external transfers through banks to import materials from abroad. That's because they can do it legally. They're on the platform. Okay, so basically they've made a difference to the parallel market within about 10,000 dinars, which is acceptable amount. They've managed to do so recently, allow more dollars into the currency auction, like I just mentioned, due to supply and demand. Parallel market is within standards and or acceptable parameters. So this puts the central bank in the driver's seat, as far as I'm concerned. Now that they have that exchange rate, like Al-Sudani said, 1.32, $1, 1.32. They do have it set up. So if they got the parallel market within 10,000 to that 1,320, or if you're talking about $100, you got to add the math to it. But the bottom line is, the point is they got it within that many dinars. Therefore, it gives, I'm hoping, the green light for Al-Alaq to do what he does, and that is to apply a real effective exchange rate. The ports are discussing with the UN implementation of programs to monitor containers and trafficking illegal activities. So basically, the UN's financing the borders to make sure that they're doing things properly, legally. And if they're going to finance it, obviously they have a reason to, because if they're going to finance it, they're going to make some money. And last one today is the frameworks meets that's with Sudanis today is to discuss the 2024 budget. And what are they talking about? The main focus on that, the Prime Minister, Shia al-Sudani, basically is saying that he's working in coordination in details with the budget, sending it to the House of Representatives. They're going to speed up voting on it in Parliament. He's working on all this stuff. So they go back to say that the Al-Sudani basically on Monday confirmed that employees' salaries would be guaranteed in the financial budget for 2024. So he's giving reassurances. And he comes back and says that Al-Tawani chaired the expanded meeting on Monday to discuss the 2024 budget schedules in the presence of the Ministry of Planning, Mohammed Tamin, Ministry of Finance, Taif Sami, a number of other advisors to the Prime Minister, so a number of people. All these guys got together, schedules they talked about. He's actually saying that, and adds that the meeting discussed a number of important topics, including financial allocations to the government's spending policy, the mechanism for dispersing amounts, ways to find the budget deficit, and how to increase non-oil revenues, again, what we talked about, as well as the issue of ensuring sustainability of financing for ongoing projects. So in effect, the Ministry of Finance and Planning reviewed spending and financing schedules for 2023. So they're still talking about 2023. And I think you guys, I don't want to be long-winded. I know it's getting late, but 2023 hasn't quite been 100% sorted yet, and nor has 2024, and that's why they mention it. So anyway, moving forward, the Ministry of Finance, they've reviewed these things, spending, financing schedules, and what else are they going to talk about? The allocations for appointments, contracts, 2023 budgets are legally secured, and these paragraphs will be implemented during 2024. So again, this particular item, they don't go so far as to tell you how they're going to do it specifically, but they say that they have something involved, and they kind of touch on it. So to me, I'm going to say this: they seem to be sort of hiding something, and like we said earlier in our forum. There's so much significant interest to sort the details for the 2023 and 2024 budgets. This tripartite budget, they just have to be getting ready to be close to quickly sorting it out. They have timelines, like I said. Jamal Cougar said within 10 days. I think that from the 22nd gets you to the 31st. The guy's a political guy. He's working for himself. He's going to try to make a political statement, I think. Or like everybody else is saying, they're going to have to vote on it by the 9th before their recess. We're going to find out if they hold to any one of those things. But right now, we all know that there was other circumstances at play recently. We know that they have the RTGS. Iraq's ready to go. What else did they do? We know that the United States of America, supposedly today, T1, clearing is going to change. It's going to be dramatically faster. How are they doing that? Well, they're going to do that in real-time gross settlements. Why are they going to be doing that? It's because they want to move money. They want to do it fast, efficient, accurate, secure, safe. That's what they're doing. Didn't they tell you on back in September 2023, Iraq and related parties, the government, right, are going to be a savior of the global financial system. I mentioned an article tonight, Iraq's interconnected with the global financial system. So they're ready to go. What are they waiting for? That's what we're waiting for. So here's a snippet. I'll leave you with this. And I'm going to say it because the reason why, because I gave you that Jamal Cougar said within 10 days, that was prior to the parliament recess, that's a time frame. Okay, so the snippet says the Parliamentary Finance Committee announced starting today the committee's meetings will begin to discuss the draft general budget. Committee member Representative Jamal Cougar said in statements to the news the draft has reached the Finance Committee starting today, Wednesday. We will begin intensive meetings to discuss it until it's completed. He goes on to say the Finance Committee will complete the discussions of the draft budget in a period that will be less than 10 days. And so they're going to be studying it for less than 10 days. So we're in his window, okay? Jamal Cougar, political guy. We'll see if he's right. Is he the tell-all? No, not at all. Central Bank, Taif Sami, Al Sudani, those are the guys that we're waiting for. So thank you guys for being with me tonight. For all you new folks, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget, all of your help, small amounts even, keep us focused, keep us going. Zelle, PayPal, and Venmo are options for you. So thank you. Appreciate it. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.